Each year, the Gala and the Zacking Foundation shares a patient's story about someone who has experienced firsthand generosity and support from the Zacking Against Cancer Foundation. Each year, these stories not only touch our heart, but they also reflect on the support and generosity and the work of the foundation. This year is no different. Tonight, I will have the honor and privilege of introducing Fiona and Iain Goodwin, who will share their story and their journey with you. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Fiona and Iain Goodwin.
Fiona's going to be doing the talking, I'm just going to stand here and cry.
I'm going to be reading this, by the way, so I apologise. I am not sure if it was a midlife crisis or something more positive, but in spring 2016, Iain and his assistant coach decided they need to get in better shape. The team could do with being a bit fitter too, so they decided to kick each training session off with a run around the 1.5-mile circuit of Davidsonville Park. This progressed to, hey, I found this race and they give this really cool Under Armour sweater just for registering. So was born our relationship with Zacking Against Cancer. Cool swag and then microbrews and oysters at an after party and we were sold. The following year we created a team as we had a friend who was going through breast cancer, running for Romina. Fun was had by all and we were now in the routine of signing up nice and early to get our swag and be guaranteed a spot. Little did we know where this relationship would lead. At the beginning of the summer of 2018, our daughter Libby started getting spike headaches. They started weeks apart and as the summer progressed, got closer and closer together. By the end of the summer, they were most days and so visits to her doctor started. With no other symptoms, "Are you drinking plenty of water?" was the answer. As school started back, there were regular visits to the school nurse. And once a day became several times a day, and the doctor visits continued. Still no other symptoms, but to be on the safe side, a neurological appointment was made, and that would be 8 weeks out. Libby was always on the go, and it was followed by a soccer tournament on Columbus Day 2018 that one of the spikes made her physically sick, and we realised we couldn't wait for the neurological appointment, so it was back to the doctors. Blood tests were ordered and the doctor sighed and said, "I know it won't find anything, but how about taking her for an MRI? It was a quiet work day for me, so I decided to skip out early and take her that day. MRI done, and we waited for the results. We saw the waiting room slowly empty until we were the only ones left. Still waiting, we were eventually called into a room and told our doctor was on the line. I honestly can't remember much about the conversation beyond, there is a lump in her head and you need to take her directly to Johns Hopkins. Annapolis will not be able to help. We were immediately admitted. A week later a biopsy was done and then 2 weeks later we waited for the results. The news was devastating. DIPG, diffused intrinsic pontine glioma. In short, a childhood cancer that develops inside the brainstem. Like most people, we had very little knowledge of childhood cancer. Libby had a friend at elementary school who had leukemia, and our youngest daughter had a girl in her grade who had cancer. But they both made a full recovery, and from outside you don't necessarily see the full extent of what goes on. DIPG is a childhood brain cancer where the 5-year survival rate is 2%. with the majority not making it a year. It is only in the past 10 to 15 years that they have been able to do a full diagnosis through biopsies, as it was always felt too dangerous to be operating so close to the brainstem. The biopsy tries to just get any bits that have pushed their way out. There is no way to operate to remove the tumour because of its position, so treatment is 6 weeks of daily radiation with the hope of shrinking it as much as possible, then hope you can get onto a trial. Chemotherapy has been proved to be unsuccessful because the brainstem appears to protect the tumour from the drugs. Okay, let's cheer ourselves up a bit and talk about Libby. Words that have been used to describe her: firecracker, spunky, and trouble. She was a ball of energy from the moment she came onto the earth. She was running at 9 months, could climb out of her crib in a complete silence before she was a year old. Spent most of the first 3 years of her life sporting black eyes as she fell downstairs, ran into walls, tripped over everything. We are surprised to this day that we never received a call from Child Services. Ian and I used to smile on those days before school started and we dropped off supplies and saw Libby's seat at the front of the class. That won't last. By the time back to school night arrived, she'd already been moved to the back. Each time it was accompanied by the same comment from her teachers: "We know she is listening because when we ask her, she can repeat every word. She just doesn't sit still." For someone who didn't have a lunch account, she still managed to spend over $400 one year on it at elementary school. She took her lunch with her every day, but she always found Mum and Dad's purse for cash for ice cream. Keeping up with her was a full-time job, but she had the most enormous heart. The ice cream was never just for her, always for her friends. She found the awkward kid in the group and went out of her way to make friends with them, making sure they were always included. A group setting where a sibling was forced to tag along, she always made sure they were included. She loved to cook. Hummus, cheesecake, Alfredo sauce were her favourite recipes. As you may have guessed, Libby liked to follow the path less trodden, and her cancer did exactly the same. Before she had finished her first set of radiation, it was already spotted in her spine, very rare. The radiation took place at Sibley Memorial, a daily drive. For those of you who work in DC, I'm really sorry, but getting to Northwest DC from Annapolis area for 9 a.m. every day sucked. Unfortunately, after this, it spread further. In fact, she went on to have radiation in her hips, shoulders, and knees. Her doctors were going to give her a punch card, like you get at the coffee shop, so she could get her next treatment free. You try and keep every part of life as normal as possible. Any of you seen the Big Bang Theory episode where Sheldon had his robot or mobile virtual presence device? Libby used one of those so she could continue to attend school. With it, she could do the school's morning announcements. I think this was only so I would let her have an ice pop for breakfast, so she could read the joke during the announcement. Her school counsellor was on constant alert. Robots can't climb stairs, and we've all been cut off from all receptions when we enter an elevator. So Dave 3.0 often got stranded. Dave 3.0, I see you wonder. Dave is a family name used for anything we can't think a name for. For Libby's treatment, Dave was her bag that had her PICC line full of medicine attached. Dave 2.0 was her wheelchair, and 3.0 was the robot. Having 3 daughters meant we didn't know the meaning of a quiet life anyway, either physically or verbally. Our 2 other daughters here tonight, one older and one younger than Libby. They had school, their sports, their friends, and while they wanted to be involved in every part of Libby's treatment, they wanted to continue with their own things. Libby was in and out of hospital, and there really wasn't many days where we could really say we were a normal family. Let's just say we may have had some calmer moments. When these happened, we wanted to ensure we created special memories. Obviously, there was a Zacking running festival to attend. We got to enjoy a Make-A-Wish trip to Nashville to watch USA women's soccer team play England. Good news, it ended in a tie. Could have been some major family issues if he decided one. The girls and Dad got to go to Disney. It was decided by all involved that I would only ruin the trip, as the thought of Disney is hell on earth to me. I cannot express in words how the constant need to be on top of everything, the exhaustion, the fear grinds on you. The 3 a.m. 911 call when Libby is having a seizure. The time waiting in ICU when her lungs were working at 20% capacity and desperately needed draining of the fluid buildup. But there were more important cases in the operating tables. And through it all, Libby kept it positive. Always had a joke to tell or a smart comment to make. Her positivity was infectious. Libby died on the 31st of May 2019, age 14, just over 8 months after a diagnosis. The day on what would have been her 8th grade dance. She had been looking forward to the dance for months. Up to the last few weeks, she was so sure she would go. As the inevitable drew close, we did not talk about the dance. But regardless, she was going to leave her mark, whether her friends liked it or not. And she did. The dance that started with so much excitement, then crashed so hard when the news of Libby's death passed through the school hall. Then to rise again when the kids took it upon themselves to remember what Libby would have wanted, for them all to have fun. Like Zach, she made a huge impression in so many people while she was alive. It was at the Zacking Running Festival that we attended as Libby had started her treatment that Lace 'Em Up for Libby was born. Then it was just a team name to run behind. But following her death, we needed a way to keep the positive energy that she brought to all of those around her alive. So Lace 'Em Up for Libby became our organisation with our mission to give kids a chance to build a better world and live without cancer. We actively hunt out and create opportunities for kids to give back to their communities around them without raiding their mom's pocketbook. And the cancer, well, surely that's just a given. It just needs to go away. Iain and I are very fortunate in so many ways. Iain is a high school teacher. The pay may not be the best, and the kids, well, but the health insurance is great. My job is in IT and has always allowed me to work at home or anywhere. I could be with Libby when she was at home or in the hospital and continue working. We did not have to get those enormous medical bills. Our other daughters got to continue their activities and still be part of Libby's treatment and create lifelong memories. While our family is 4,000 miles away, we had the most amazing network of friends, or family as we call them. They helped get our kids where they needed to be and be there for us. Still, Zacking managed to find a way to add additional help. With extended family in town, an opportunity to sit down and have a family dinner. Something that seems so obvious but often gets missed in the juggle. A moment as a family to stop time for one night and have a dinner as if everything was normal. I read the stories of the people that Zacking has helped and they continue to astound me. how people deal with their own cancer or cancer in their family. It takes a village to get through cancer, and not every person has that village to call on. We will always be so grateful for the support we got from Zacking, the little things, and as we continue to work together with our two organisations to make a difference in this dreadful world that is cancer. Cancer sucks. Cancer really sucks. No.
Thank you, guys.